All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to demystify one of the most powerful programming languages out there, C. We're going to break down its core structure, its syntax, and I promise it's a lot less intimidating than it looks. So, let's get right to it.
Have you ever stared at a screen full of code and just thought, what am I even looking at? It can feel like you're trying to read a secret language, right? Well, if you felt that, you're definitely not alone. But here's the thing. Every language, even a programming one, has rules.
And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We are going to crack that code by learning its grammar, because once you understand the rules, you can finally start speaking the language yourself.
So, first things first, we're going to start with the absolute foundation, the basic grammar of the C language. The official word for this grammar is syntax, and in programming, syntax is, well, everything. It's the super strict set of rules that tells the computer exactly what you want it to do. Get it right, the computer understands you. Get it wrong, and yeah, you get those dreaded error messages. This is a perfect way to think about it. Just like grammar in English helps structure our sentences so we can understand each other, code syntax structures commands so the computer can understand us. The big difference? Your computer is a lot less forgiving of typos than a person is. Okay, so we've got this idea of grammar down. Let's look at how we actually use those rules to do something useful, like, storing information. To do anything meaningful in C, you need a place to put your data, and that place is called a variable. Honestly, the best way to picture it is just as a labeled box. You give the box a name, and then you put something inside it.
Let's break this line of code down. That first word, int, tells the computer what kind of data is going in the box. In this case, an integer, which is just a whole number. Age is the label we're putting on the box. And 20, well, that's the value we're placing inside. Simple as that.
Now, this is a perfect example of how strict those syntax rules are. In C, you just can't use a hyphen in a variable name. It has to be an underscore. It seems so minor, right? But that one tiny character is literally the difference between code that works and code that doesn't. Precision is key. And that brings us to a really crucial point. It's not enough to just create a box. You have to tell the computer what kind of stuff you're planning on putting inside. That's where data types come in.
Exactly. You can't just throw anything into any old box. C needs to know ahead of time if you're storing a whole number, a number with a decimal, or maybe just a letter. This actually helps the computer manage its memory much more efficiently.
So let's look at the three most common types you'll run into. You'll use int for whole numbers, like a person's age or a score in a game. Then you have float for any number with a decimal point, like a price or a temperature. And finally, char is just for a single character, like a grade A or someone's initial.
Okay, so we have our labeled boxes and we know what to put in them. Now it's time for the really fun part, actually making things happen.
So think about it this way. If variables are the nouns of our language, then operators are the verbs. They perform actions. You have your basic arithmetic operators for doing math, and you have these comparison operators like equal to or not equal to for making decisions in your code.
You know what? Let's see this in action and build a tiny program together. First, just like you see here, we declare our first variable, an integer named a, and we give it the value 10. Next up, we'll create a second one, an integer we'll call b, with a value of 5. Okay, now we have our two boxes with numbers in them.
And here is where the magic happens. We use the addition operator, that little plus sign, to combine the values from a and b, and then we store the result in a brand new variable called sum.
But what good is doing a calculation if we can't even see the answer? That's where printf comes in. This is a built-in C function that lets us print information to the screen. It's how we get our program to talk back to us.
So, with that one simple example, we've seen all the core pieces in action. Now let's put it all together and see why these rules are basically your new superpower.
And this is the fundamental pattern of nearly every single C program. You create your nouns, the variables, to hold information. You use your verbs, the operators, to make things happen. And you use functions like printf to show the result. You master this flow, you've mastered the core of C. And this is the ultimate goal, right? Learning syntax isn't about memorizing a bunch of weird rules just for the sake of it. It's about making the language second nature, so you can free up your brain to focus on the bigger picture, solving problems and building amazing things. Because at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to.
When you're no longer fighting with the grammar of the language, you can start writing poetry with it. Master the syntax, and you unlock your confidence to code.